Well, good morning, folks. It's Richard the Fishing Machine here. Fall, well, it's officially here. The leaves is falling. The temperatures are really falling at night. In fact, it was 45 degrees last night. And the high for today, I think, is going to be about 72, 73 degrees. Fall is here. And there's a lot of different techniques when it comes to crappie fishing that will work right now. But one of my favorite is to fish docks this time of year. And the technique I'm talking about, well, is skipping. This time of the year, the bigger fish are starting to move into the docks, and you can have a blast catching crappie by using this technique. But this technique requires a couple special extra things also, with the skill of being able to fire a bait or skip a bait on top of the water like a flat rock far as you can get it. And this requires now the right type of tackle, and it requires a jig, a special jig, and I'm going to go into that with you right now. All right, folks, I'm going to go ahead and show you the finished product because I have several of these already tied up. Now, I pre-tie these myself, and what I'm talking about right here, as far as fishing shallow docks like I do this time of the year, mainly in the Coosa River system, docks that's anywhere from 2 to 6, 8 feet deep. My favorite weight of jig head is a 1/32 of an ounce, and sometimes I'll tie some a little heavier up to a 1/16, but for the most part a 1/32 of an ounce is the size I can get by with the best. And usually a size 4 hook like that's in this one right here, and that's a 40-pound strand of monofilament line right there. One strand is how I tie these weedless jigs up. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how I tie them up once again, because this is a fantastic time of the year to get this done and to do this. And by tying them up yourself, which is a lot better than any of the store-bought stuff that you can buy, because most of the jigs that's prefabricated weedless is going to have wire, and wiring is not near as good as monofilament when it comes to a weed guard, okay, in my opinion. So let's go ahead and tie one of these up. Now, this is a 1/8 of an ounce jig head, a lot bigger than a 1/32, but I'm going to use it because of demonstration purposes, so y'all can see what I'm doing a lot better. But most of these jigs have a collar. That's what I call it. It's right in behind the ball of the jig head. Now, this right here needs to come off, in my opinion. I never use them, and I haven't for years. That right there, when you put a jig on whatever you're going to use, it will tear that plastic all to pieces. They're worthless. I wish they'd quit putting them on these jig heads, but that's got to come off. So this is just a pair of side cutters. Let's just go around it right there, separate it, and just snap it off. Snap it off like that right there. And that's what you got right there. This is just a gigantic roll of dental floss that I bought years ago. And I got this actually from a yard sale, and I've been using this for years and years off of this roll, folks, tying these jigs. It's non-waxed dental floss, but now you can go to the dollar store, which I've done before, and get you some, and if there's wax on it, that's fine. It'll still work for what we're doing right here. It'll still be fine. And I like dental floss because glue will penetrate through it. And you'll see what I'm talking about here in just a second. Now folks, as far as the weed guard is concerned, well, I like 40-pound tests, whether it's monofilament like this or fluorocarbon, either one. But if I'm going to use monofilament, I want a green line. You know, studies have shown that green monofilament line is virtually invisible to fish. Or, like I said, I'm going to use fluorocarbon. But in this case, we're going to use this Suffix 40-pound test. Now, what we got to do now is I'm going to cut a little bit of this monofilament off of this spoon, or a couple inches. And then we'll trim it up to what we want. A couple inches long. Okay, so there's our piece of line. I'm just going to lay it just like that right there, folks. Right along the shank of the hook. And I'm leaving plenty here. I mean, plenty on both ends, really. We'll just snip them off when we get done. Now I'm going to take this dental floss and start right behind the head. And we're going to wrap it all the way down that shank. The shank of the hook. Just like that. Then I'm going to turn it and go back up again. So I just go twice. That's all you have to go. But now these wraps I'm making are tight. Tighter than what it looks like. I've done this so many times till I can tie them without any trouble. Now I'm going to take this and we're going to put 2 granny knots right here. There's one. And there's 2. Real tight. Okay. I'll tighten that real tight. Now we're going to go ahead and start trimming. So I'm going to take a pair of scissors and trim it right there like that. Okay. Now here's what's important. Right here at the end of your dental floss, at the bend of the hook, push it in tight like that. That's real important. What that does is it pushes the dental floss against the ball of the jig head tight. Okay. Now what we're going to do is take this and center it perfect like that. Okay. Bend it over. And you can use needle nose pliers or some pliers like this. Something that's got real narrow jaws. And just take it and just crease it right there. What you're doing is weakening that line just a little bit so it'll sort of hold its angle like that. Okay? That's all there are to it. Then we're going to take these scissors and go about even with the top of that hook and just cut it off. The weed guard don't have to be long at all. Now let's trim this one right here at the hook. We'll just trim that off. Now there's a crude illustration of what we're doing right here, and y'all can see it. Now I'm a lot more specific and neater when I do the finished product. But another important thing is, in my opinion, to have you some Loctite super glue. Best glue on earth for stuff like that, in my opinion. This is the gel type. And what I always do is put just a little bit here. And what that'll do is soak in through the dental floss and onto the hook, and it'll bond it, and then another one right here at that point. Okay, just like that. That's a little bit thick, but y'all get the gist of it. Now in about 4 or 5 minutes that'll dry, and then you're ready to put your jig of choice on, whatever you want to use. Here lately, folks, I've been going back to Bobby Garland baits, and blue ice, as y'all know, is my favorite color, especially in clear water. But the water on the Coosa River is clear enough, especially up shallow like we've been fishing, to use a blue ice. Very natural looking color. Baby shad blue ice. It's the 2-inch original baby shad. is what we're using. So let's get one of these 1/32 ounce out, and we'll go ahead and rig it up. And then we'll talk about this jig and how tough it is when you rig it like this. Now, as you can see, here's one that's prefabricated. That's what we want right there. That one's ready to fish. Little 1/32 ounce jig now. Size 4 hook. So what we're going to do is rig it up, and rig it up straight. Now, I rig them where the, see how the flat part, you got a flat part, then you got the belly right there. Now, I rig it to where the flat part is up. Okay, that's where I want my hook to come out of. Let me show you. Right through the center. Just like that. And it's real important, folks, to keep it right in the center. And you don't want this bait kinked. Okay, so let me look at that. That's pretty doggone good. That's good enough to fish. Right there. Okay, I'm real particular about that. See how straight and streamlined that is? Right through the center. That way to come through the water real clean. But this is the deal. You can catch crappie after crappie after crappie on the bobby garland if you'll do this. Remember that dental floss is on there, so we're going to take this glue and go up and down it, that dental floss. Pretty heavy, not real heavy, but pretty heavy. And then push it up on there. Okay, roll the bait a couple times and then center it back up. Okay, get it perfect centered. Now when that dries, you talking about deadly. That is a deadly bait. You can hit every post on that dock up under there. You can come through cedar trees if there's some up under the dock, or trees that's up under the dock that has been pushed up under there because of high water, flood water. You know, our lakes gets flooded a lot of times, and high and muddy, and it'll push a lot of debris up under those docks. But the reason why that one strand works so well is because this is a 1/32 ounce jig head. It's very light, so it's going to come through there clean. It's going to hit those limbs, veer off of them. And I have absolutely many times, if I hit some cover up under there, I've actually absolutely stopped it there and just jig it just a little bit and catch crappie that way. A lot of times that's how you have to trigger the strikes. But most of the time you can come through there, and just by this jig hitting those little limbs will trigger a strike, a reflexive action type strike. So that's very, very important to have that little weed guard on there. And it seems like a lot of trouble, but it's not. After you tie several of these, you'll see that there's nothing to it, and you save a lot of money by doing that. A lot of money. Those prefabricated, I call them junky weed guard, weedless jigs, are very expensive. I've seen them as much as $6 for 5 of them. And that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous when you can buy you a 50 pack of jig heads like this and then make them for, oh my goodness, for nothing hardly. So that's just my opinion, folks. Now, folks, let me mention something also that, let me get this in here just right. Let me mention something that I've never mentioned before. This weed guard will save you a lot of crappie. In other words, what I'm saying is, if they're just short striking this bait, not active, and like I said, a lot of times I have to trigger strikes because when I reel through cover, I'm wanting to hit into the cover to cause a reflexive action type strike. Okay, a lot of times they'll hit it and not want it, so they're short striking it, barely getting above that hook to where they'll get hooked. This weed guard will come back after they're hooked and put a little bit of pressure on their jaw wherever that hook penetrates and actually hold that fish. You know, I've never mentioned that before, but I don't know how many fish, and big ones, in the past that was saved. They were skin hooked, but this right here held them on, kept them from coming off. And that's a fact. That weed guard is very, very important. Now this is a blue ice. This is a 2-inch Bobby Garland blue ice bait right here. Now this is my favorite color, whether it's in this color water right here or Gin Clear water. I catch a lot of fish on that color. I mean, who knows? They could be an old, like I said, an old big one laying up under the shade right here. This is an intense shade. Now, when I make a cast, you see this line of post right here? What I want to do, if I can, is bump those posts. So I try to throw just this tight, there's a fish, into those posts as I can. As I'm reeling it, I'll bump them every once in a while, and that'll trigger a strike. That's a black crappie. Him ain't that little, I mean big. Him a little one. Let's let him go back here behind the boat. They're about 3 feet deep, so I'm maintaining that depth. 1/32 of an ounce like I'm using right now falls about a foot a second, so once it hits the water, I'll count to about 3. See, this is a 5-foot dock. And that's where the fish are hitting, about 3 feet deep. See, let me demonstrate it right here. Well, let's get in here just right. Let's do this thing. 1 foot a second. Watch this right here. See, 1. It fell about a foot. I'm wanting it to fall 3 feet deep because that's where the fish are biting best at. 1, 2, 3, and then I'll start my retrieve. See, I know I'm at the correct depth right there. Remember, this is a 5-foot dock. There he is. Oh, this is a good one right here. Ooh, this is a slab right here, folks. Yep. I mean, a good one. Let's get off here just a little bit. I knew that was a good fish when he hit it. That's a black crappie too. Golly, what a fish. That's a good one right there. That's what we're talking about. Let's check the water temperature right here. Let's see what we got. Okay, it's 73.5. But now remember, it's the middle of the day now. So, it's a 5-foot dock. It's a 5-foot dock. But that's a good fish right there. Real good fish. But that's more like it right there. Big old crappie. I don't want to keep him today. There he goes. Shook his head. Boy, that was a good fish. Strong too. And this is just a light action rod, 6.5 foot long, with a Daiwa Fago, if that's how you pronounce it. LT 2500. It's an old reel with 8-pound braid, and I think that's an 8-pound test fluorocarbon that I already had tied onto that. So with a uni knot, that's my favorite connection. Let's get that bait back up under there. Skipping docks, fishing these docks is my favorite way to catch crappie because of that's a bluegill, because of the mechanics of it. Keeping that rod tip low and then skipping it up under there like a flat rock. It's just a lot of fun, a lot of mechanics involved in it. Now I prefer 4-pound test monofilament line when I'm doing this. I feel like I can get the bait a little farther back than with braid, but I don't have a reel that's got 4-pound mono on it with me today. If I did, that's the way I would be fishing. But we can get by with this. This braid does a good job. It does a real good job. There's one. Come on out of there, boy. It ain't a bad one. Golly. See what I'm talking about, folks? These better fish is starting to move in already. Come on in here. Man, oh man, it's going to be a good fall. That's a nice one right there. Not as big as the one we just caught. This one here is probably about 10 inches, maybe a little bit better. But, yeah. Now, this is the kind of dock right here that I would love. When you got this kind of fish on here, you know, 10-inch plus crappie, 10, 12-inch crappie, I'd love to be fishing with that little ultralight wimpy rod. You talking about having some fun, but it's just too gnarly up under there. I'd get hung up immediately on this dock right here, but let's let him go. Okay. This weed guard, and this is just a 40-pound test, single strand weed guard that I tie into my jigs. Now it will deflect over cedar trees and stuff like that. Just a single weed guard's all I use. I don't like to put two, just the one, because I'm using a 1/32 of an ounce jig head right here. Very, very light. Because it's light, it'll just hit those little limbs and stuff and come right through little cedar trees and stuff like that's been put up under these docks, or whatever type of cover that's up under there. Yep, fishing's getting a little bit, every time I come, it's getting a little bit better, folks. Little bit better every single time. That's fall fishing. There's one. Yeah, that's a good one. Come on. Come on out there. Now with a weed guard, if y'all notice, I set the hook a little bit hard. That's a good fish right there. Look at here, what a crappie. My. That's about an 11-inch crappie right there. About an inch less than what our biggest one we've caught. There's some good fish up under this dock. Okay. I mean, they could be a 2-pounder. One never knows. One never knows. All right, folks. That's about a 10.5, 11-inch crappie, but there's a lot of them in here. Now, that first one, big one that I caught, was at 12 inches, 12 1/8, 12 1/4. That is the type of fish that I love to catch, that I target up under these docks. And a lot of times you can catch them up to 15, 16 inches, but they're just now starting to move in. The bigger fish are. Let's let him go. Let's get him revived. Go on, bad boy. There he goes. They still got a lot of slime on them. Crappie do. But they still got that summer slime on them. It's an extra coat of slime. Now, it protects them from the hot water. But they're always going to be, crappie is always going to be slimy, but not that bad. As the water temperature cools a little bit, they'll get a little bit less. But let's go back in there and try it again. Hey, man. Whoa. Whew. The people of the world. Yeah. There's something wrong with me, folks. The older I get, the worse it gets. So I don't know. If y'all keep watching Richard Gene the Fishing Machine in like 5 more years from now, I might be totally nuts by then. Let's catch another one. Folks, I don't know what I got. I'm just gonna be honest. I know one thing. I'm at least getting him, and I need to keep doing that too. I'm at least getting him to turn. He's turning and coming this way. And it's not that I turned him with this 2-pound test line. It's just that he decided to come on out this way. And I'm glad of that. I'm just curious of what it can be. Now, flathead catfish, when the water's turning over, will suspend. They'll do it. They'll suspend. Oftentimes, they'll suspend the same depth that crappie will. So that's why I said flathead catfish. Now that dock was about 8 feet deep, and this fish hit about 4 feet deep. So I'm not going to rule a flathead out, because they will definitely suspend. I've caught them suspended before when the water's turning over like it is right now. Oh, it is. Look here, it is a flathead, which don't surprise me. Golly. Come on up here. We got color. I want y'all to look at that pole, how it's bent. Alright, he's a little too far away from me. But I see the fish. Y'all see him right there? Ooh, that's a good fish for this kind of tackle. Very, very difficult to land fish like this. Let's see if we can. Oh my goodness. We got him, folks. Golly. Woo-wee. Look at there. I like to never landed that fish. I'm going to wet the deck. It's not hot, but I'm going to protect his slime coat, and we'll take a look at him. My. Now this is about crappie fishing, but also this is going to be educational for a lot of people who just now starting to fish. Flathead catfish will suspend this time of the year. Now folks, I want y'all to look. What a nice fish right there. That is a nice flathead right there. 2-pound test line. And what I just told y'all, yeah, that's the truth. They will suspend. And we might do some of that. We may do some fishing like that here next day or two. Focus on these flatheads, blues, and channel catfish up under these docks, because right now is a great time. The reason is because there's a lot of shad around these docks right now, especially the shad. The docks, it's anywhere from 5 to 8 feet deep. That's where the fish are right now. I count the turnover. And nice flathead, heck of a battle. Let's let him go. What a blessing to be on the water today. And it always is, folks. It always is. And the older you get, or the older I get, let me speak for myself, the more I enjoy and feel like it's nothing more but just a blessing. But I'm proud of that. That fish was very difficult to land on sowing thread. Let's let him go. All right, fish. Boy, that fish give me a fit. One thing about catfish, look how he's working that water through them gills. One thing about them, folks, they are tough. They are tough hombres, and there he goes. There's been a few people around, and I can't get this adrenaline out of me, and I have it bad, really, really bad. Okay. The flat-headed catfish is a very tough customer. Whoa! Now, folks, this technique is very, very effective in the fall. When the water temperatures gets around, I don't know, 75 degrees down to around 55, this can be, like I'm saying, a very effective way to catch crappie, and oftentimes big crappie. But the reason why they're under there is because there's a lot of small shad that's migrating up in shallow water, and they kind of weave in and out of those docks, and those crappie lay up under the dock because they're attracted by shade anyway. It's their natural instinct to get either deep water or shade. They love a dark environment, folks. It's a known fact that crappie feed mainly and better at night throughout the summer, fall, and winter periods. I mean, that's just the fact. So that's why that shade is so important. But they'll lay up under that shade waiting in ambush for some shad to come through, and they'll reach out there and get them. And if they think that right there is a shad, they'll get it too. So that's the reason why fishing these docks this time of year is so effective. Well, folks, that goes to show something. You don't never know what'll happen when it comes to fishing. Fishing is a very unpredictable sport, and as far as I'm concerned, it's a sport second to none. I want to say God bless each and every one of y'all. Thank y'all for all the great comments. Love each and every one of y'all. Hey, man, woo, woo. I'm talking about woo. Feel the adrenaline, and remember, go fishing when you can, because it's good for you.